this, I would then be able to go to the ECB and to various governing bodies and say, look, mine was difficult, and this probably balances between how I was when I was playing, but also how I am now, in that, well, the simple aspect is I've been a fan and I've been professional. So I know what I felt when I went to the ground and when I saw these players. So there's kind of there's two aspects to it. There's one aspect in terms of a lot of people think that the moon is a star.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in today. This week's episode is brought to you in conjunction with Upskilled and their mini MBA. If you want to get the skills and knowledge to help move you forward without all of the big expense, then this mini MBA with Upskilled is the right way to go. Follow the link in the show notes and you can get $500 off. Charlie Hartley, thanks for joining me on the show today. Looking forward to having a great chat with you.
Yeah, awesome. Very much looking forward to it. It's any time to connect kind of after sport is brilliant, and keen to kind of see where these conversations go.
Yeah, well, awesome. Listen, that's definitely the way that I tend to roll with these chats is let's have a conversation. Let's talk about you, talk about what the career was like. I'm very much getting to that career transition and what you're up to nowadays. So I suppose just to kind of get us started in there, what are you up to nowadays? For those listening and watching, let's just give us that précis version of what's going on with you.
Yeah, so I'm one of those people that likes having a few different things going on. So I've literally just very recently launched a kids book, which I'm very passionate about. Since leaving pro sport, I wrote a cricket resource as well that teaches teachers how to coach cricket. But my kind of full-time passion, full-time job and role is the CEO and founder of Moonrise Sports, which is essentially a fan digital portal for sports teams to brand up as their own, activate through their own sponsors, experiences, digital content, competitions, etc.
Well, that sounds fascinating, actually. That last little bit, I like the idea of Moonrise, but the bit that really gets me is the books and the authoring that you've done there. Is that something that you'd always fancied doing?
Not really. So the cricket resource was created out of frustration. So I left professional cricket and like you kind of normally do, the routes for someone that used to play professionally is go and coach privately. A pretty normal transition. The frustration was I wanted to help out in state schools at the time. I wanted to kind of grow cricket from kind of giving it as an opportunity for everybody. And then I quickly learned that the structures within the UK, but also around the world, don't really allow that. Money tends to follow those things, and it is a very elitist sport. This kind of state schools couldn't afford it, and the pathways to deliver it weren't there. So what I decided to do is write a resource that teaches the teachers how to coach cricket, so that instead of sending in activators like myself or other people into schools to deliver cricket sessions, we just give teachers, any teacher in the world or in the country that wants to coach cricket, is passionate about it, but doesn't necessarily have the confidence or the knowledge to deliver it. They can use the cricket development program to basically run any session. There's thousands of different sessions with diagrams, with written and with videos to kind of help any teacher or parent along the way.
That's good. It's essentially getting into the coaching side of it, but finding a way to scale it very quickly as well, to scale the sport or adoption of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, it's been a philanthropic kind of journey. In my naive brain, I thought I would write this. I would then be able to go to the ECB and to various governing bodies and say, look, feedback from parents and teachers has been brilliant. Do you want to just adopt this, give it out to everyone for free, and we can help the country grow? Again, as I say, that was my kind of naive brain, not understanding the way in which a lot of these governing bodies work, the structures, the work in finance, how money filters down from government to activation. So I'm still kind of in that transition period. I actually had a conversation earlier today with a multi-academy trust. They have 43 schools and they're looking to roll it out across a variety of their schools. So as I say, the feedback from direct consumer has been brilliant, but I'm slowly learning that higher end of sport and how to navigate it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's good. Well, they sound like good lessons, to be honest, because, you even mentioned just there the CEO and founder of Moonrise Sports. So what is that?
So it's changed a little bit since when I first started it. So during COVID, I basically created a Wix website and had a burner phone and my own phone. And one phone was the athletes, one phone was my own or for fans. And I connected athletes with fans. So the simple premise of the site was giving fans the ability to book video calls or get coaching tips from elite athletes. The reason I wanted to do that, twofold. One, I wanted to put some more money into women's sport. My frustration about the women's sport side of things is that everybody is waiting for more investment or bigger sponsors in order to pay the athletes correctly. The fan base is growing. People are starting to engage a lot more with the female side of sport, which is highly positive. However, the finances aren't trickling down to the people that need it or that are playing. So my mindset around that was, well, if the athletes can engage and inspire the fans by talking to them and pretty much like Cameo, but instead of birthday shout outs, conversations, inspirational conversations and coaching tips. That was my mindset. Again, naive and like everyone will do when you kind of go into work. Didn't realize that agents want a cut of everything. So kind of the athletes were coming to us being like, this sounds great. And then we go talk to their agent and they'd be like, well, how much am I taking? And then you kind of have to work out, well, where's this money going? And then the athlete then turns around and go, well, that's not worth my time. Even though actually it's the athlete doing 95% of the work. And then the second side of that is things have slightly moved in the sports world from the rights holders perspective and from the teams. But back, especially when I was doing it, teams got a little bit scared when their players were interacting with fans away from them. They felt like they were losing control. People are starting to realize that players independently interacting with fans is positive for them, a net positive later on down the line. But yeah, they were just bits we learned. So then we modified and got some more investment. And we essentially have now built a white labeled fan entertainment portal for any team. When you look at kind of the sports pyramid, right at the top with the big football teams, NFL teams, IPL teams, the big teams, they have huge investors, a lot of capital. If they want to create any digital tech, they can do it pretty quickly. Underneath that, there are thousands of sports teams that don't have the capital to invest in tech, but do need to activate their brands directly to their fans, do need to get better fan data, and do need to create more of a holistic feel for their fans worldwide. So that's kind of essentially what we do.
Yeah, that's really good. We'll probably come back to it as we go through this story, because I'm interested in certainly some of the actions you had to take to actually get things started in terms of, because you've got quite an entrepreneurial streak. What I am already picking up is this link between you getting frustrated with something and then acting on it, recognizing perhaps there was a bit of naivety, which I'm not sure yet whether it's a good or bad thing, but it actually, chatting here with you, it sounds like it's a good thing because it didn't hold you back. It meant you just started getting into it, getting stuck in.
Yeah, I mean, I have this conversation quite a lot with people that kind of go, well, how do you come up with ideas? I mean, my fiance says it all the time. I'll be on a train or wherever, and I'll think of something that they could implement better or could do better. That's just kind of how I'm always thinking. And I think actually being an entrepreneur isn't difficult, but some people have certain creative minds, some people don't. And it is essentially, as you rightly said, it's finding a problem or something that isn't working well and then trying to find a solution for it. The question on all of it is there a commercial value to it? Because that's how business works. Without a commercial value, there's no point. I think that's where, coming back to kind of this conversation, that's where sport did set me up. And that's through boarding school all the way through to playing professionally, is like all the injuries I had. And I've said this openly many times. I think injured athletes are probably going to be some of the most resilient people that you can hire. If I was, as we grow, I will actively seek out kind of athletes that have played pro sport but maybe got injured or dipped off, because they have all the benefits of mindset and growth and aspiration and commitment, but they haven't been able to do it in the thing that they loved.
Hi, I want to take this moment to thank Upskilled and their mini MBA for sponsoring this week's session. One of the great things about their mini MBA is it allows you to gain the skills and knowledge to help propel you that little bit further forward. It gets you understanding the vocabulary in the room, and also gives you some of those skills to navigate the corporate career, the government career, or indeed stepping into not-for-profit. So big thanks for Upskilled and the mini MBA for sponsoring this week. And hey, check it out. Link in the show notes. You can get $500 off.
Well, let's get into that from you. Let's understand a bit of that background. And you touched on it there from of course, get into professional cricket. But what first drew you to cricket in the first place? And indeed, I guess what kind of kept you going in it?
The honest answer is I didn't really choose cricket. Cricket chose me. I loved all sports. Millfield is a sporting school in Somerset. Since the age of, very early, but when I was at Millfield 10, 11, I played pretty much every sport to the highest level I wanted to or could do at that level, sort of within the school system. And I loved and adored it. I probably loved rugby more than I did cricket. And then I ended up dislocating my knee and having quite a bad knee injury. As I think I was sort of 15, 16. And it was at that age I was like, well, physically, if you want to go down the rugby route, there's a very big different change you need to make to your body, and there's a lot of kind of physical commitment, and I wasn't quite there for that. And cricket was just the one that I was probably more naturally gifted at, and just found easier to compete in at a higher level.
And so for you, when did that shift sort of occur to you, where you thought, I can go from a schoolboy here, but actually I might have a future in the game?
It's hard looking retrospectively, because it's very easy for us to kind of put back in feelings of now into what we were when we were younger. I always loved playing sport. I always wanted to play professional sport. I remember my parents saying to me when I was at school, they're treating my schooling like sport comparative to uni. Like, some people go to school to go to university, and therefore their grades are the most important. Other people have other ambitions, and mine was sport. And therefore, kind of, if I bunked off sport, which I didn't, but if I didn't want to go to sport sessions, or if I chose to do other things, they would be as frustrated as if I got a D or a C in maths. And that was kind of the mindset from my parents to me. And I mean, as with everything in sport, I got incredibly lucky. You can say you make your own luck, but my transition into the professional world is I went to Australia, played out there for a little bit, and then I was at the ICC Champions Trophy. One of my old coaches at Bromsgrove Cricket Club told me that there was a net session going on to bowl against, I think it was New Zealand, West Indies, Sri Lanka, and England. And so I just thought, yeah, all right, I'll turn up. Turned up, started bowling. And then the Sri Lankan guys were like, oh, you're quite good. Do you want to come back in the morning and bowl at us again? Because it's good preparation. Turned up in the morning, and two of the coaches there, one of them was Chaman Devas, who is a very good bowling coach. The other one was friends with the second team coach at Kent. And as I was driving home, he called the second team coach and was like, hey, this guy's quite good. You should reach out to him. And then I ended up getting a trial and getting my contract. So, yeah, extremely lucky.
Brilliant. You do make your own luck. You still have to rock up. You still have to do it, and a bit of talent. But that's a nice story. Yeah. I quite like that one as a way of getting started. It's just so simple.
Yeah, I think my career, I basically describe it by going, I was incredibly lucky to get into professional sport, and then I do consider myself quite unlucky to be pushed out of professional sport. And that it kind of sums up what pro sport is. I mean, when I talk to people about it, and my last couple of games playing professionally for the first team was against West Indies touring side, where I got 6 wickets in the game. They went on to play England and beat England in the winter and got a few of their top names out. Then played against Yorkshire and got Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow out and played quite nicely in that game, and then got fired a few weeks later, or fired but released. And and it kind of it sums up sport. Like you can have the highs of the highs, the lows of the lows, and then before you know it, something comes and sort of makes your fate for you.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I know that this conversation really is about that transition and how you manage that. And you had injuries during your career.
Yeah.
Right? But even during those times, did you, I guess, remain committed to the idea that, well, you'd be coming back and you'd be maintaining your career?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I wasn't fully to the realization I was going to lose my career, I think probably till a week before I lost my contract.
Right.
Because in the changing room environment when I was there, I was asking senior players, like, what do you think? What do you think? Like, am I fine? And people were at the time saying, yeah, not a problem. Like, everything's fine. It was a difficult time to kind of work out those things. Some would say almost better than naivety because you're not focusing on it as much. But yeah, I do count myself quite privileged to have played and got out. I don't necessarily think that sport is amazing for the human psychology later on in life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what do you mean by that?
So I think because you have so much done for you, you kind of don't end up doing a normal job. You kind of are treated in a way that inflates your ego beyond what normal life is. And I personally think the humbling aspect of sport is one of the most important things you can do. Stay humble, stay grounded. There's one key player, Daniel Bell-Drummond, who is one of the best players, but the nicest blokes, and no amount of fame would change him as a person. And then there are other people which it takes them. And I think someone like him, he's like the completely anomaly of what sport does to people. I think most of the time sport grips people and kind of changes you as a person. And that's a personal view. But
well, it's a personal view that I can understand. And, I speak with someone else on here previously, and it was very much you kind of get caught in the current. It's like you're going down a river, and you go and it gets faster and it takes you with it, and your expectations and perspectives can shift and change as you go through that. Well, I guess that leads me naturally to say, during your career, to what extent did you remain humble during that period?
Mine was difficult, and this probably balances between how I was when I was playing, but also how I am now, in that I was a young kid from a boarding school background where kind of everybody was pals when we were playing. I went into professional sport where it was quite a ruthless environment. And I personally found it quite difficult to navigate that ability of showing confidence. And I think that's one of the hardest things in sport, is staying humble, but being confident and bridging that gap between confidence and arrogance. And people that don't like you will see your confidence as arrogance. People that do like you will see your confidence as confidence. And the people that know you very well will just see that actually you're masking your true feelings and you're just trying to compete in professional sport. And I think that's the reality of sport. The amount of sports people I've spoken to, that if you dig deep and you actually speak to them, they're also self-conscious. They all have insecurities inside them. They all have that deep normality. But coming back to my point about, I don't think sport is great for people, I think it makes people hide it for a long, long period of time. And if you are hiding certain thoughts for 2-3 decades, it's very difficult for those things to come out later on in life.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, if you're hiding it for that long, at some point you might start to believe it's true.
Yeah.
And unwinding that, that's a whole different podcast. But unwinding it is probably psychologically quite challenging for individuals as well. That's definitely something else to think about. But it does make me think about you, and you not realizing, like you say, until you're pretty much walking into the room to be told your contract isn't being extended. Given the games that you just played, how, I'm probably leading the question, but how crushing was that to you?
Again, I can't really think back to feeling crushed. I remember feeling frustrated, but at the same time, like, I kind of try and lead by control the controllables as much as I can, more so now, probably retrospectively since those incidents. But there's only so much you can do. Like, I also kind of run by the mindset of, if somebody tells you they don't want you, I kind of don't want them either. Like, I'm not gonna beg for somebody to believe in me if they've already told me to my face they don't believe in me. I think that's kind of a simple way to move on. I think the frustrating element for me more than anything was when I went and trialed for Derby the next year, and I was one of the best bowlers in the club at Derbyshire at that time, doing very well. And then there was an injury, and instead of signing me as a player, I won't get into the politics of it, but they ended up signing somebody else, which was I was a bit frustrated about their decisions. And it was basically a decision down to finances more than anything, and how they could not pay any money. And that for me was the catalyst to go, hang on, maybe sport isn't so much fun. I don't want to drag this out and try and do this any longer.
And so for you, what was that change like? I mean, you were a professional, so there would have been an identity that you ascribed to being a professional cricketer. So at that point, for you recognizing, hold on, if this isn't something that I want to be, what did that mean to you from an identity perspective?
It's a weird one. I would say that I wouldn't describe myself as a professional sports person, because I don't feel like I fitted in that model. I look at the personalities that love pro sport, and there are certain people or types that love that environment, love the kind of semi-fake attitude of the changing rooms, and the kind of the camaraderie of these people being your best friends. They're not. I really struggled with that balance of kind of, are these people your friends? Are they not? Are they stabbing you in the back? Are they not? Who's actually rooting for you? Who isn't? I found that quite difficult. Definitely looking back on it now with more mature mindset, I found that quite a difficult thing to understand. So again, I call it a blessing that I left early, because I don't think it would have been good for me. And that kind of comes back to my point on sport being bad for people. I think for some people it's brilliant and very good for them. But I do think there are a lot more people with my mindset in that sports world that kind of just keep on that train because we're told it's the most amazing thing we can ever do.
Yes. I don't know how much you've thought about it then. How would you describe your traits perhaps that mean you weren't necessarily suited to professional sport? Or what was it that you feel, what do you think that told you whilst you were there, perhaps I'm not suited to this? Other than that, you mentioned the fakeness, that camaraderie, etc. Was there anything else that you can think of that also helped to shape you to feel I'm meant for something different?
Not really. As I said, I think a lot of these conversations are retrospective, which is where it's so difficult. Like I'm looking with my mindset now on what I'm doing, and I feel very privileged to be where I am now, and I like who I am now, and I like where I am now, and therefore I'm looking back on those moments with this mindset, which is where it's very difficult, because I can't really say what I was thinking or how I was then without attaching my mindset now.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it is interesting as we look back with that reflective mindset, it's obviously a good thing to do. What I recognize in what you're saying is around the value set, and you can look back and think, what did I value at that time, and were you able to be yourself, sort of express your values whilst being a professional athlete? And often we can't put a word on it, but at times we feel uncomfortable. There's something that means we don't quite feel ourselves, but we don't know what that is. And it is until we look back and, like you said, we mature a little bit more,